Okay, Algebra 1, 16-10. This is our final lesson of the year. Yes, Sergio? So quiz tomorrow, yeah.
What?
Wait, there's a quiz tomorrow?
Yeah, there's a
What?
quiz tomorrow.
But
This
don't
is
we
the
have,
last
like-
lesson. You guys know this. If I go to my unit guide.
Oh, wait, it's
We are right here. Oh, there's not even a quiz. It's just a straight-on test. So 16-10. That is our final.
We just have a whole.
This is our
school
final
test.
lesson of the entire year. Then there's going to be a test, and then all we're doing is
I
reviewing
think
for the
instead of
final
finals, we should
over
just have a
and
4-page
over
test of every
again.
point
And you can
ever
see right
learned.
here, yep, test is tomorrow. Then we just do review, 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 and then somewhere over here there's going to be a final.
But can we use our powers for the final?
Only one person can use a power for the final. That's the warrior. What power does the warrior have?
So, Mr. Shinobu,
What power does the warrior have?
They have
Music.
the power to defeat the captain.
Oh, we can use note cards?
Note cards. So let's come down here to treasure map. Treasure map. All team members can use a note card on the quiz, test, or final. So as long as you have a warrior that has 25 AP for the final, you guys are Gucci. You can get
Wait,
that
do I have
note
that
card.
power? I don't think I have that
And I'm
power.
pretty sure every single person has that power.
Prove it.
That's
I
a
don't-
warrior.
I don't think I have that power.
Gunner, you have all the powers.
I don't.
Aren't you like level something crazy? Oh, you don't have that power.
Wait,
Okay.
Mr. Shinobu,
You should be working towards that power for the final.
Wait, Can you take away like my power, the protect 1, protect 2, protect 3?
I can't take that away because if I took those away, then you wouldn't be able to leap through time, which means you wouldn't be able to have a treasure map.
True, never mind.
Wait, but can you not use that for teammates?
Yeah.
Or well, you can use it right now, but
Wait, do I have any
Anyway,
Wait, do I have any warriors on my team that have
anyway,
that
let's
power?
talk about some vocab.
Wait, I have an important question.
Is it math related?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's about math, like the math that we're learning, like equations, parabolas, and all.
Let's go with that question.
Precipitation.
So, I'm just curious. Are we gonna ever use those equations in like our life?
I was hoping that we would, but we might not be able
Like,
to
what
get
if
that
you're
chance.
doing what if you're like running and there's a car driving at you and you have to calculate
So, Andres, let me ask you a
precipitation?
question. In your real life, will you ever have someone that throws down a dumbbell and you have to start working out with that dumbbell?
Wait,
No,
but
that never. Hold on.
Yeah.
That never happens in
Unless
real
you-
life.
unless
But
you have a person
lifting,
finish.
hold on. But in the real life, people will ask you, hey, can you carry this to my car? But because you trained by lifting that dumbbell, now you can lift something to someone's car. I'm training you guys in a school of logic. Hopefully you can apply these skills in logic to maybe voting for the right person, to maybe understand why to vote for certain different elections. I just want to make you guys logical individuals. I want to make you logical citizens. Of course, no one's going to say, hey, find the vertex of this parabola. No one's going to throw down a dumbbell in front of you. But you should be able to transfer skills.
Unless,
Someone said that to me
unless
before.
you become a math teacher, like. You're gonna
Yeah, I
need-
guess if you become a math teacher, maybe you need to know the vertex form. All right, let's talk about the y-intercept. Quiet raised hand. Y-intercept is where the function crosses the what axis? Quiet raised hand. Oh yeah, Gunner.
X-axis?
No, but you get XP for trying.
Correction. I
Hold
make
on,
a
hold on.
correction.
Student error.
What's your correction?
A y-axis?
It is the y-axis.
Wait, that's a student error.
All right, everyone write it down. Y-intercept
I
is
caught my own error.
y-axis.
I caught my own error.
Good job.
More.
This means if I'm looking at a graph, you can make a little sketch on the side if you would like. This is not an x, or this is not a y-intercept. This is a y-intercept because it is on the y-axis. This is the x-axis. So this y-intercept is right here. All right, what form am I looking for? You have three possibilities. You have factored form, you have vertex form, and you have standard form. Which form is it easiest to find the y-intercept? Josie. Ooh, good guess. Factored form is good for x-intercepts.
No, Kriti.
Hold on, quiet raised hand. Josie, you still get XP. Andres,
Standard.
it is indeed standard form. Thank you, Andres. All right, standard form. And this is standard form. I gave you an equation in standard form. Can someone tell me what the y-intercept of this equation is? Fernando. 5. Everyone circle it. 5. That is the y-intercept. Thank you, Fernando. 5 is the y-intercept, which means this height would have been 5 on that equation. Okay, let's talk about roots. Again, we have that poster up there that says roots, zeros, solutions, x-intercepts. All 4 of those are the same words. So, roots, it's the what intercept on the graph, and what do I have to set y equal to? So, quiet raised hand. Gunner.
X-intercept?
It is the x-intercept, and I set y equal to
0.
0. Write it down. That is Gunner's rule. It's in textbooks as Gunner's rule 2, which is a coincidence.
Wait,
Gunner's rule.
actually?
No, it's not. So Gunner's rule, the x-intercept on the graph, that's a root. So if it's asking you about a root, you should be thinking x-intercept. Or you should be thinking solution. Or you should be thinking zeros. All 4 of those words underneath PEMDAS on my wall, those are the same words in different forms. All right, let's talk about maximums and minimums. This is a calculus concept because we use it all the time. How to find the max and min. Well, with parabolas, it's really easy. It's the what coordinate of the vertex. It's the height. So what, is it x or y, Jose? It is the y coordinate. Write it down. Okay. The y coordinate of the vertex, which means, this is the key thing here, if it's asking you for a minimum or a maximum, find the vertex. More specifically, find the height or the y coordinate of the vertex, but it's still the vertex. So vertex is easy to see in what form? Quiet raised hand. There's 3 forms that I have. What form is the easiest to find the vertex in? You have standard form. You have vertex form. You have the factored form. What form is the easiest to find the vertex, Eder? It is the vertex form. Thank you, Eder. And I now get your card. All right, so this one is going to be a minimum. What is the minimum of this function? Someone tell me, what is the minimum of that function? It's in vertex form. This is vertex form right here. What is the minimum of that value? What is the minimum height? Andres? Is not the answer?
5.
5 is the answer. It's always going to be this number out here, which is pretty awesome because if you look at y-intercept and maximum or minimum, it's that number outside, just in a different form. 5 is the minimum. But why? That's the curious question. Why is that the minimum? Because, and you're going to answer this by saying, well, Mr. Sindel, you can find the vertex like this, and then the y-coordinate of that is blah, blah, blah. So, why is 5 the minimum? Andres, again.
Well, Mr. Sindel. So the minimum is because like when you find the vertex of that equation, it'll be 3,5, and then like x is 3 and then y is 5, which means like the height is 5 because like it goes on the y-axis.
Well explained. I don't even need to repeat that. I could not have said that better myself. You got 2 types of correct answers, so that's 100 XP. Yeah. Vertex again. You have to switch. As Andre said, you have to switch that 3. And then we already defined it. It's the y-coordinate, and Andres correctly said that. All right, let's go on to concavity. So concavity, I have not really defined this word, this unit. And again, it's one of these calculus words, too.
Concave?
Concave, yeah.
We learned about concave.
We have talked, we did? And it was our first
No,
lesson?
it was in science. Concave and convex.
Oh, okay. So if the parabola opens up,
Concave.
then the parabola is concave. Up, yeah.
Wait, so is a concavity like a cavity?
Ha 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 ha. No.
Cavity.
Quiet raised hand for this one. If the parabola opens down, if it's a rainbow, then it's concave. Quiet raised hand.
Yeah.
Sergio.
Yeah.
You guys.
I helped him though.
Julian, next time you do that, I'm taking away HP. You can't shout it out, especially when I repeat over and over with a quiet raised hand.
Do I feel these chemistry in the class?
What?
Gunner, that goes for you too. So I know that you shout out answers all the time.
No.
Never. That never happened. Never. All right. We have 4 examples because there are 4 types of questions that I can ask you on the homework.
Are we let's get teachers referrals?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to come back with an even better burn. Let's talk about example 1 though. What function has a greater y-intercept? I have f of x here, which is an equation, and I have g of x here, which is a graph. Oh, I have to know how to find y-intercept on a graph and y-intercept on an equation. Well, I have to find the y-intercept of both. What are they? Quiet raise hand. What's the y-intercept of, I don't know, f of x or g of x? Your choice. Dealer's choice. Can anyone find any of those y-intercepts? I see the same people over and over. Is there anyone new? We'll go with Eder. 2 for g of x or f of x? F of x. Why is 2 the y-intercept?
This is the last number.
Yeah, this last number right here, 2. We just circle it. And it's the same thing in our notes. The y-intercept, we just circle that last number. It's in standard form. The y-intercept is 2. So y-intercept of f of x is 0, 2. Thank you, Eder. Andres, I saw you whispering too.
No, can I donate it?
All right, what about the y-intercept of g of x? So I'm talking about this one. Well, where does it cross the y-axis? At what number? Quiet raise hand. I want to call in someone new. I need more cards. If you have your card, you are who I want to hear from. Oh yes, Cohen. Why is it 4? Say that one more time. So you're talking about the y-axis?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it goes through the y-axis at 4. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Cohen. So 0, 4, and then again, let's reread the question. Which function has a greater y-intercept? Well, which one was it? Was it f of x or g of x? Quiet raised hand. Easy XP, Julian. G of x. So the answer here is g of x. So Cohen, did I give you your XP? I did. And then Julian, there's your XP. All right, let's go to example number 2. Ooh, this word roots. How many roots? Ooh, how many of us even remember what roots are? How many roots do the functions have in common? Ooh, this is going to be difficult.
I don't know what roots are. It's a tree root.
They are not tree roots. So I need to find the roots. Well, roots have another name. What's another name when I'm looking at the graphical representation? Quiet raise hand. Just look up at the wall, guys. It's up there. And we wrote it down up here in our notes already. What is a root? On a graph, it is the, quiet raise hand. Ah, Jenny, yes.
The x-intercepts.
Yeah, the x-intercepts. And what are the x-intercepts of g of x? Where does it cross the x-axis?
3 and -2.
Yeah, let's all circle those, guys. So at 3 and -2. Thank you, Jenny. Okay, well that means when I'm talking about a function, I need to use a ninja star.
Oh.
This guy needs to be ninja starred in order to factor it into its roots, or I guess it's technically it's 0 since we're talking about a function. Andres, you want to set up the ninja star for us?
I have a question.
Oh, question, yeah.
So, whenever you have to find the roots, is it always going to be in factored form? Or?
Yes, you'll always factor it. All right, so to find the roots, I'm going to say f of x. Well, maybe I'll just set up ninja star first. Ninja star, ninja star, ninja star. Who can help me set up a ninja star? A little bit of review. Jose, go for it.
So
-3 on top.
-2x.
-2x. Ooh, I think it's just -2, just the coefficient. And then,
Top is x.
all right. Thank you, Jose. I need someone else to solve Jose's Ninja Star. What times what is negative 3? Well, I know 1 and 3. I need one of them to be negative. Which one should be negative to get negative 2? Yes, Jessica. It is indeed 1 and negative 3. Thank you, Jessica. It can be either of those, Gunnar. So that means that if I factor this thing, f of x is now equal to x plus 1 and x minus 3. And then, of course, if I set this equal to 0, so if f of x was set equal to 0, that would be finding the x-intercepts. When you set them equal to 0, remember that we switch these values. So my x-intercept would be x equals negative 1, x is equal to 3. Which of those are in common with the other graph? So I want my final answer as x is equal to what things do they have in common? What x-intercepts do they have in common? Cohen. Ooh, careful. I don't see a negative 2 over here somewhere. I need something here and here after I switch the values on over here. Go for it again, Cohen. Just 3. Yep. This has one root in common. It has a x-intercept of 3 and an x-intercept of 3. Again, because if I were solving for the x-intercepts, I would get negative 1 and positive 3. I switch these values. So the only thing that they have in common is 3. All right. On to example number 3. Teacher, what did I do wrong? Sergio.
How many roots are there?
Okay, that's right. Andres, Sergio, log it.
Oh, okay.
Yo, I was just say that too, man.
You did not have your hand raised, Julian.
I could donate my extra credit to you. You don't want
I don't want the cherry.
So one root
what? Because I have too much.
in common.
Yeah. So 5, 8, 19.
Yep, 5/8/19. Today's date. I'll sign it off for your extra credit tracker. We are now on to example number 3. Which function has a greater minimum? Ooh, minimum. What is minimum? What do I have to do for minimum? Go back to your notes. How do I find a minimum? How do I find a minimum for a graph? How do I find a minimum for an equation? All right, I need a quiet raised hand to do either the equation's minimum or the graph's minimum. F of x minimum or g of x minimum. Again, minimum height is what you're really looking for. What is the minimum height, Fernando? -3 for g of x or f of x? F of x. Oh yeah, the minimum is -3. So I'm going to say for f of x, min is -3. Thank you, Fernando. And how'd you get that?
Because the line crosses on the negative 3.
The line crosses at -3. I don't know what you mean by that.
I don't know. I don't know.
What about this equation? I guess what is the vertex of this equation? The vertex would be what? 5 and -3, and then the y-coordinate is, yeah, I point to the y-coordinate. And then you can just skip a step and just say, oh yeah, it's right there. Yeah, Andres.
So also for g of x, it's -3
G of x is also -3. How'd you get -3?
because it crosses the y-axis, and like whenever it's on the y-axis, it's the height of it, the height of the.
I'm looking for the absolute minimum height. So if it crosses here, okay, that's okay. I'm looking for what the lowest height is, so that I can find a height even lower than 3. Look at -3.5.
Okay.
So what's the negative or the most negative height then?
-4.
-4, exactly. It's where that vertex is. So for g of x, the minimum is -4 because the vertex or the y-coordinate of the vertex, if I did the point for this, this is -2, -4. The vertex has a y-coordinate of -4, therefore the minimum is -4. All right, so again, we're looking for which function has the greater minimum. Well, negative 3 is greater than 4, so negative 3 is our answer. And I guess I should be talking about which function, so f of x. F of x has a greater minimum because negative 3 is bigger than negative 4. I can write that out on the side if you need it. Because negative 3 is greater than negative 4. Questions on number 3 or anything that we've done so far today? Cool. We're going on to our final example. This is our final example for the whole year. What's going on, Andres?
Wait, are these types of problems going to be on the final?
Yes. What is the concavity of each function? So you just need to say f of x is concave blah, g of x is concave blah. So f of x, we'll do you in green. F of x is concave, and then you're going to fill in the blank here. And then I'm going to write down here, g of x is concave, and then blah, you're going to fill in that blank right there. So we've talked about this briefly, but I haven't made it explicit in our notes for today yet. This is where it'll be a little bit clearer. But before I make it clear, does anyone want to take a shot at whether they're concave up or concave down? Gunner?
Concave up.
Which one?
G of x.
G of x is indeed concave up because you can see that g of x is pointing up. I mean, this is pointing up, this is pointing up. So yeah, g of x is indeed concave up. Thank you, Gunner. 50 XP. What about f of x? That's a little bit harder. You don't see a picture of a graph.
Concave sideways.
So with a quiet raised hand, yeah, Eder.
Down.
Why is it down? You're right.
-7.
Because of the -7? That's a good guess, but you're not quite there. I'm going to still give you the XP for getting the correct answer. Is there someone else that can explain why f of x is concave down? Jose?
There's a +6 versus -6, right?
A good guess, but that's not quite it either. Still get XP. Andres?
Because since the -7 is the y-intercept, or y-intercept, it's going to be like in the negative. Wait.
So here's the problem. If I'm looking at the y-intercept, let's look here at -7. If I have a -7, I can have something that looks like that or something that looks like that. So the y-intercept doesn't affect the concavity. Here's what does affect the concavity. This -3. So everyone circle this -3. This is the reason that f of x is concave down. If this leading coefficient, and by that I mean the first number, if that first number is negative, it will be concave down. It will be a rainbow. If that first number is positive, it'll be concave up. It'll be a smiley face. All you have to do is look at that first number. That's it. Done. It's that easy. All right. Write this down. Concave down. If you want to add anything extra in your notes, concave down because that leading coefficient is negative. Something like that. That works. I can even write that down if you are having trouble spelling that out. I'll say because leading coefficient is negative. Whatever you want to do for your notes. Again, it's really nice to be able to look back at this for the final and be like, oh yeah, that's why it's concave down. Andres?
How many questions is the final going to be?
I have not yet made it, so I don't know.
We can be like less than 10.
No. If it's less than 10, if you miss one of them, then you could fail.
Okay, never mind.
So it's a double-edged sword for the number of questions.
Wait,
All right, any questions for this
How
lesson?
could you fail if you get one wrong?
Well, I mean, if you get like a few wrong, you could fail. Getting only 3 wrong means you're at a 70%, which is a C minus. All right, so give me a fist of 5. How well did you follow today's lesson? I see a 4, 4, 4.5, 4. I don't know what that means. 4, 3, 4, 4, 4. Fernando, what'd you put? 3. And then Gunnar is just waving his hands at me. Okay, cool. Write your summaries.